The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to this morning's role play session with your host, Craig Proctor.
Well, good morning, everyone. Today we are going to talk about what to do with the leads. We're going to talk about not only what to do, but most importantly, what to say when you're following up with buyers and sellers that have contacted you. Remember, that's the beauty of my system, is it's all about getting buyers and sellers to contact you. Why are they contacting you? Because you've offered them something they want. We call this a universal callback script because you can use it in any situation. It doesn't matter whether it's a signed call or an ad call, or whether you're calling back a prospect that requested a free list of properties or they requested a special report. So we're going to briefly review the universal callback script because we've got some of you that are they're here with us for the very first time on our Thursday morning role play. And then we'll take a couple of role plays. So I will be the prospect and you'll be the realtor. And you can tell me what it is that I requested from you, and we'll hear what you have to say. I'll critique you and tell you what I think you did a really good job of and maybe some areas where you can improve. Some of you are typing your questions and comments into the chat, so we do welcome that. And we can take audio questions as well as we proceed through the webinar. So go ahead and type in your questions, and we'll take those throughout the webinar. So, Andrea, let's start with this. And by the way, for those of you that are fairly new with us, perhaps you've never met our wonderful operator, Andrea. Say hi, Andrea.
Hello.
Andrea, let's do this. Let's show everybody the intro. Let's highlight on the universal callback script the intro and just remind those that have been here before what we're trying to accomplish. And for those that are new, you want to pay attention to this. You'll see that if we go right down the middle of the script, there's a buyer side and a listing side to this. And we might need to scroll this down a little bit, Andrea, to show everybody. Oh, there it is right there, buyer side and seller side. Okay, perfect. Okay, so if you've got a prospect that responds to a seller campaign, you're obviously going to go down the seller side of the script. If it's a prospect that's responded to one of your buyer campaigns, you're going to go down the buyer side, so that makes sense. What are we trying to accomplish in the intro? Well, we don't want to sound like a telemarketer. We want to make sure that when the prospect answers the phone, that we answer the two biggest questions that anybody has when their phone rings. Now, I want all of you to think about this. If your cell phone rings, your home phone rings, you're immediately thinking, who is this and why are they bothering me? So right away, we want to answer those questions. We're also going to make sure that we always ask for the person that requested the information. So if it was Mrs. Smith, we're going to ask for Mrs. Smith. If it was Mr. Smith, we're going to ask for him. We're going to talk today about, well, what do I do if Mr. Smith requested the information and when I call, Mrs. Smith answers the phone and Mr. Smith isn't home? How are we going to handle that? So we'll talk about that as well. So again, the two things that every person is thinking when their phone rings is, who is this and why are they bothering me? So we're going to say to the prospect, may I speak to Mrs. Smith or Mr. Smith? This is your name. So in my instance, it would be Craig Proctor from ABC Realty. And the reason I'm calling is because I received your request. You might even want to highlight the word your, Andrea. We want to emphasize we received your request for the information you wanted, and I've popped that in the mail, or I've emailed it to you. Or if you want to make it really simple, you could just say, I've sent that information to you. And that covers both because, you see, I had my assistant in my office. She would send out the information to the buyers and sellers. So if the prospect responded to my hotline, if they left their message in the hotline, I'm not going to have the email address of the prospect. So in that situation, we would mail out the information. And if they visited my website, of course, I'd have their email address. I would email them the information. But if you want to change that to say sent, I've sent out the information to you, it covers both. Whether, if you're not sure whether it was emailed or mailed, that's a simple solution. Just say, I've sent the information out to you. Is that okay? You'll generally be met with something like, thank you. You've created reciprocity. You've been nice to the prospect, right? On their own volition, they requested information from you, and you're saying, hey, this is me. And the reason I'm calling is to let you know I received your request for the whatever it was, the costly home seller mistakes, the area home sales report, the list of distress sales, whatever it is. I've sent that information to you. Is that okay? They'll say thank you. Now, of course, that's really not the reason you and I are calling. We're not really calling to double check the efficiency of the Postal Service. The real reason we're calling is to establish motivation and timing. So Andrea, let's highlight the second part of the script. Okay, so we're done with the intro, and the real reason we're calling, of course, is to establish motivation and timing. Now, I want you to think about that. You remember at the super conference that I said a big mistake that I made earlier in my career, and a mistake maybe some of you are making, is I used to spend far too much time on the phone with buyers and sellers. And I might know an awful lot about the buyer or seller. I thought I'll build some rapport with them. But I would hang up, maybe knowing, how many kids they have, the name of their dog, all kinds of great things about them. But I wouldn't know the most important two things about any buyer or seller, which is their motivation and timing. So you might want to just highlight that or write that down. Motivation and timing, that's it. That's the ball game. That's the whole reason we're calling them back. I want to know, are these people motivated, and what is their timing? Now, it'd be great if we could just be that frank, right? If I could say, hey, Andrea, are you guys thinking of moving, and when? Well, we got to be a bit more tactful, right? And this is a problem with a lot of the scripts that you folks have been taught. When I started in real estate, they taught me to ask some pretty heavy questions. So, you get an ad call or a sign call, and I was taught you go right into these heavy qualification questions like, do you have any money? Do you have a down payment? What's your credit history like? Are you self-employed? That's a real turnoff to buyers. There's a place for that, but not right now. You get more bees with honey. So the probing questions we're going to go into are question number one, are you folks planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months? Now, typically, the prospect will respond, this is normal, with, I don't know, we're not sure, we're just kind of thinking about it. I don't want you to believe that this is a bad lead if they respond that way. It's almost like the job of the prospect is to appear that they're less motivated than they really are. We talked about the retail store example. You go into a store and they say, can I help you? And you say, no, thank you, I'm just looking. And then 5 minutes later, you're at the cash register buying something. So don't be thrown off by that. Now, once in a while, they will be very upfront and vocal about their intentions. They'll say, oh, I'm glad you called. Actually, my wife and I are thinking about making a move. We've been transferred, or we're going through a divorce, or we bought new construction. We call those a golden prospect. And as we get into deeper waters here with the coaching program, we'll tell you what to do with the golden prospects. Question number two is, if you were to move, would you be staying in the area or moving out of the area? Now, I really like question two because it's not something that can can blow off and give you a yes or no answer to. We're just saying, if you were to move, even if they say, well, we're not really thinking moving, but if you were to move, do you think you'd be staying in the area or moving out of the area? Now, that would be like if you walked into a retail store, instead of the salesperson saying, can I help you? What if the salesperson instead said, have you been in our store before? You'd answer either yes or no, and then if you said yes, they might say, well, we have a special discount for shoes for past clients like you over on this rack for 20% off. And if you walked in the store and you said, no, I've never been here before, they could perhaps even take you to the same rack of shoes and say, well, we have a special for brand new clients like you for 20% off, but good things would happen. So the premise of this script is most prospects are not very good liars. And by asking them these probing questions, we're attempting to get them to open up, have a conversation with us so you and I can determine the truth. Question number three is, and when do you think that might be? If you were to move, not saying you were, but if you were to move, when do you think that might be? Well, Craig, I guess if we were to move, we'd do it, in the fall. Well, a minute ago, they said they had no plans. So now we're getting somewhere. Question number four is, do you have a realtor to help you when the time is right? Well, what if they say yes? I'm going to say, well, You know, there's a tremendous difference between real estate agents and what they do and how much they charge to get the job done. Do you think you might be open to meeting with me as well? In other words, I'm not saying don't meet with your buddy, the realtor, or Uncle Joe, but would you be open to meeting with me as well? Now, it is true, there is a big difference between what realtors do and what they charge. What they don't know yet is I charge more than probably any of the other realtors they're going to meet, but they won't know that until they meet with me. Question number 5, would you prefer to buy before listing your home, or do you want to sell first? In other words, do you want to buy first or sell first? This is vitally important. I said earlier, if the prospect responds to a seller campaign, you're going to go down the seller side. If the prospect responds to a buyer campaign, you're going to go down the buyer side. But isn't this the truth? Just because the prospect responded to a seller campaign, just because they have a home that they need to sell, doesn't necessarily mean that they're a sell first prospect. And you see, I didn't used to ask this question. I just assumed, well, you know, if the guy responded to a seller campaign, then I should offer him, you know, a CMA. I should offer, you know, a list. I should try to get in front of him and give him or her my listing presentation. But as you all know, in being in real estate, that they're not always ready to sell their home before they find another home. So you could do, hypothetically, a really good, you know, pitch for your listing presentation. But if that's not where their head's at, even that wonderful offer you made will fall on deaf ears. So if you ask the question, are you a buy first or a sell first prospect, guess what? They will tell you how to sell them. They will tell you, hey, you know, I'd rather look around and buy something first before I stick a for sale sign on my front lawn. Or, you know what, I would rather get my home sold first. I'd rather see the sold sign on my property before I go out there and get excited and make an offer on other properties. Now, if they say they'd rather sell their home first, now we're going to go to the third part of the script. If you want to go down and highlight the 2 offers there, please, Andrea. If they say they want to sell their home first before they run around looking at homes and getting excited, I'm going to go to the sell first offer. If they say, well, I'd actually really need to find a place first, I don't need to move, I need to find another place and get excited before I even stick a for sale sign on my property, I'm going to go to the buy first offer. Let's first start with the sell first offer. Here is the sell first offer that I used to make. And this worked all the way through my career up until about 1996, 1997. What happened in 1996, 1997? The internet. And I think most of you will agree that when we get to a seller's house or even on the phone, quite often the seller knows more about what's going on in their neighborhood than we do. So, but my big offer prior to internet was, hey, would you like to get an evaluation of what your home is worth? Would you like to see, you know, a list of what your the neighbors' houses have sold for, or what's currently listed? And the only way sellers back then had access to that information was through us. We truly were purveyors of secret information. So if that's your big offer today, don't be surprised when the seller says thanks but no thanks. Your offer falls on deaf ears, and that's what I found. Going into 1997, 98, this offer that had worked for me for years, would you like an accurate CMA? Would you like a computerized evaluation of what your home is worth? Quite often the sellers were saying, you know, I'm good. Thanks, but no thanks. So that caused me to go back to the drawing board and to make a long list of other things in addition to what their home is worth would be of value to the seller. So let's take a look at things that we offer the seller now. Probably all of these things, here's the irony, all of this stuff you already talked to the seller about when you get to their home. The problem is you're not talking about it to get the appointment in the first place. You need to tell them a full story of everything you're going to do when you meet with them. So take a look at this offer. It says, would you like a free market evaluation to determine what your home would sell for? Also, I can give you tips on what to do and what not to do to sell your home for the most amount of money. And we can go over all the various closing costs you're going to incur so you'll know exactly what you'll have left in your pocket after all expenses. It's free of charge. and you're obligated to do nothing, does that sound like it might be helpful? When's a good time for us to get together, days or evenings? So isn't that the truth, that sellers always want to know? Well, they ask you, right? Well, what do you think I should do to prepare the home for sale? If they don't ask you, it's something that you would talk about. You would offer that, right? You would say, well, it might be worthwhile, painting the kitchen, but it's not worthwhile, maybe ripping the entire kitchen out. It might not be a bad idea to run a vacuum around the house or cut your front lawn. So there's inexpensive things that we recommend the seller should do. There's some things that they should do that would make a difference. It would help them make more money on their home sale without them spending a lot of money to do it. Now, there's other things, of course, that the seller might be tempted to do where they wouldn't get their money back. They could spend a lot of money doing things to their home where it's not going to net them more money after we take into consideration what it costs them to make those repairs. So that's something we can talk about. The net sheet is also something that's very important. They always ask us, they want to know about our commission. What expenses am I going to incur when I sell my home? Here's another one. If you wish, you could throw this into the script. Quite often they'll ask us about timing, right? Well, when's a good time to do this? Should I buy first? Should I sell first? If my closing date is in September, when should I list my home, et cetera, et cetera. So I want you to look at this offer and see that this offer is something that all of you can say, because you do this. This is what you do offer. But if your seller offer is all about giving them just the value of their home, don't you agree that that's not a very strong offer today? And many realtors make that mistake. If it's true that the sellers already have a pretty good idea of what their home is worth, and that's our big offer to them on the phone is, do you want to know what you already know? Don't be surprised when they say, no thanks. Okay, they decline your offer, and that means you generated a lead, but the lead was wasted because now you're not able to get in front of them, and they just list their home with somebody else. Now, let's go over to the buyer offer. Let's say when I ask question 5, do you prefer to buy first or sell first? They said, oh, no, Craig, we know we're not going to have any problem selling our house, which is true in most markets now, right? There's a shortage of inventory for many of you. So a lot of prospects would say, look, I need to find something first. I need to look around and get excited about a home before I even dare put a for sale sign on my property. So what is that universal offer going to be? I mean, this is why we call it a universal callback script. It's one script that you're going to use for every prospect, regardless of situation, and you're going to make a universal offer to buyers and sellers. I just discussed the universal offer that you're going to make to sellers. This is the universal offer that we're going to make to buyers. What is it that buyers want? Let's agree. What are the universal things that buyers want? Well, I really think it comes down to 2 key benefits. Okay? They want houses, right? So they want selection. They want selection of all the properties that are on the market. And if you and I can hint that we can get them access to properties that are maybe difficult to get, we're not saying other agents can't get them this information. We're just saying that we can. I call this proprietary information. We're suggesting that we're going to get the buyer information, proprietary information on homes that are hard to find, in addition to all the other homes on MLS. And the other thing that the buyer wants is the buyer wants priority access. They want this information fast because all buyers realize that to get a good deal, you got to be Johnny on the spot. You got to get, immediate access, okay, to proprietary information because the good deals go quickly. Now, most of you work at a brokerage where there's other agents. Has this ever happened to you before where you get into the office in the morning and you meet one of your buddies in the office and they say, hey, I just listed this hot new listing yesterday or last night. It's not on MLS. So for example, in Toronto, on the Toronto Real Estate Board, I believe we have 48 hours to broker load a property. So the very first thing I would do is before I broker loaded on MLS, I would send information on that property to all my buyers in my database to see if I could double end it. I only need MLS if I don't have a buyer myself, right? So here's the ultimate offer to make to buyers. This is the universal offer. I say to the buyer, would you like me to email you daily updates of all the homes that match your home buying criteria from all real estate companies. Our list, or if you don't have a team, you might say my list, includes any bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, or other distress sales. It's a free service, and of course, you're never obligated to buy a home. Would that interest you? Now let's stop there. What do you think most buyers, how do they respond to that? Let me repeat it again. You say to the buyer, hey, would you like me to email you daily updates of all the homes that match your home buying criteria from all the real estate companies? My list includes bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, and distress sales. It's a free service, and of course, you're never obligated to buy a home. Would that interest you? Now, once in a while, the prospect will say to you, well, gee, Craig, I'm already getting emails from other agents. I'm already getting lists of properties from other agents. So I guess I'm good. I guess I don't need your list. To which I say, well, I'm not sure what the other agents are sending you, but my list, I repeat it again, includes bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, and distress sales. Would you like to get information on those properties as well? What's the buyer's fear? The buyer's fear is, well, gee, I don't want to miss out on anything, and I don't know what the other agents are sending me. Craig says his list is free, and I'm never obligated to buy a home, so who cares? I may as well take Craig's list as well. Once we get the buyer to say, yes, I want that, then we come back with the commitment. That's when we come back with, well, when can we get together for about 20 minutes so I can take down exactly what you're looking for? Now, if the prospect says, well, Craig, I can tell you right now over the phone what I'm looking for. I could email you what I'm looking for. Here's what we're going to say. Well, I want to do a good job for you. And rather than me emailing you hundreds of homes which may or may not match your criteria, or even worse, risking out on missing out on the perfect one, if we can get together for about 20 minutes, I can take down exactly what you're looking for. And that way, I'll send you only the homes that are a perfect match. When's a good time for us to meet? Mornings or afternoons? Now, once in a while, they'll say, gee, Craig, I would love to meet with you, but I've got to check with my wife or my husband, or I've got to check my work schedule. That's an objection, right? So we've got to determine, is this real? Is this a real reason why they can't meet with us, or are they just making something up because they don't want to meet with us? So we've got to give them the benefit of the doubt. So here's how we're going to handle this. We're going to book a tentative appointment. I'm going to say, well, look, why don't we do this? Since we're both on the phone right now, why don't we set up a tentative appointment for, say, Saturday morning? And if you speak to your wife or you speak to your husband and that time doesn't work, just give me a call back and we can change it to a different time. Now, if they're sincere about wanting to meet with you, you've come up with a reasonable solution, and that should work. However, if they're insincere about meeting with you, in other words, they just made that up and it's not real, what you'll find is they'll immediately invent another reason why they can't meet with you. They'll say, oh, well, gee, I don't know if I'm ready for that quite yet, or we've got your contact information, why don't we call you? Now, you can say this. You could say, well, would it be okay if I followed up with you at a later time? If they say no, go away, you're going to respect that. You see, the harder they fight you, the more you don't want them, because with my system, what did I say to you? The goal is to have more leads than you could possibly work with. So we want to know if they're going to be a jerk. I'd rather know now. We get rid of them and we move on to somebody that does want to work with us. So would it be okay if I followed up with you at a later time? If they say no, thanks and have a nice day is the proper response. If they say yes, it's okay for you to follow up. Here's what a dummy I used to be. I'd say, okay, I'll follow up, and then I would guess. I'd say, well, I'd throw a dart at the wall. Guess I'll follow up with them in a month. I'd follow up in a month and find out they're already listed. So make sure when you ask them, is it okay to follow up with you at a later time? If they say yes, the next obvious question is, and when would be a good time for me to do that? When would be a good time for me to follow up with you? Whatever time frame they give you, here's our golden rule in this program. Let's just cut it in half. If they tell you 2 months, call them back in a month. Why? Because you and I would rather be there too soon than too late. I lost way too much money in this business by calling back people just a little bit too late, or in the morning you check the hot sheets and you recognize their name or their address on MLS. You get that sick feeling in the pit of your stomach. You go, oh, I remember that person. That's the person I forgot to call, or that's the person that I should have obviously called last week. You check in your CRM and you've got a phone call booked for them 2 weeks down the road. There's one more situation I want to handle before we go to questions and role playing. What if the prospect is motivated, but their timing is way off in the future? You're going to have to come up with your standards, but in my world, in my business, I said if they're going to be buying or selling within a year, I'm going to work with them. If it's longer than a year, I'm probably not even going to pursue it. You've got to have some kind of cutoff. I mean, frankly, I was generating so many leads that had so many people that wanted to do something in the next couple months. I wasn't worried about the guy that wants to move a year from now. But you could stick that in your daytime or in your CRM and follow up with them, 6 months, 8 months down the road. But the more leads you generate, the less interest you'll have in people that are years down the road. Now, if it's a seller lead and they say they have a real reason for not listing their home, let's say for 6 months, I would prefer if you don't press for an appointment with them today. If they've got a real reason, a very real reason why they absolutely are not going to list their home for 6 months. Let me explain why, and let's see if you guys agree. Let's say that the seller has bought new construction, or they've been transferred or whatever. They've got a reason why they absolutely can't list their home until January. Okay? Do we want to force an appointment? I used to do that. I used to try to force an appointment, even though they might not be really interested in meeting with a realtor yet because they're not moving. They're going to list their home until the new year. But what did I know? So I was told, get an appointment. If someone will meet with you, get an appointment. Now I'm meeting with a seller that's not particularly paying attention or even interested in what I have to say. And whatever price I give that seller today will not be appropriate in January. And when the seller is ready to list their home in the new year, what do they figure? Well, I've met Craig, been there, done that. They meet a couple of other realtors. How much of what I had to say 6 months ago or 7 months ago are they going to retain in January? Not much. I have really placed myself at a huge disadvantage. So with a seller, I'd rather you continue to follow up on the phone until you're within shooting distance, until you're within a couple weeks or even a month of them getting ready to list their home. It just works way better. But this is not true with buyers. You can't be too early with buyers. I just said you can be too early meeting with the seller. Not true with buyers. I would meet a buyer that's ready to buy something anytime in the next year. Why? Because we can meet with that buyer today, sign them to a 1-year exclusive buyer agency agreement, and as long as they buy in the next year, you and I are compensated for the time we spend with them. Okay, so that's my golden rule. Don't be too early with sellers, but with buyers, it's fine because we can sign them to a 1-year buyer agency agreement. Now, if they say they're way off into the future, not only are you going to follow up with your phone calls, you should go down in the bottom right-hand corner, Andrew, if you can highlight the Market Watch newsletter. All of you should be sending out my newsletter. Okay, I have done the work, and I've written the newsletter. You can go to BXL Printers. You can purchase those newsletters. There's a space on the newsletter for you to get your sponsors, your affiliates, to advertise in the newsletter and pay for the whole thing. Do you remember me saying to you, I asked at the Super Conference, I said, how many of you would know you should have a newsletter? Everybody puts their hands up. How many of you know you should have a good newsletter, not a crappy one? It shouldn't be full of recipes and, how to make an apple pie, and there it is right there. That's our newsletter. It shouldn't be full of just random articles. It should be about real estate. So everyone had their hands up. Yes, Craig, we agree we should have a newsletter, and we agree there's no use sending out garbage. It'll be chucked into the garbage can. It should be a good newsletter, but very few have one. And I said, well, what if I did all the work and I created the newsletter and I show you how to get your affiliates to advertise in the newsletter and pay for the whole thing? So if it didn't cost you anything, you didn't have to do anything, how many of you would be interested in having a newsletter? Everyone puts their hands up. So there's a space on the back of the newsletter. Maybe you can pop that up where my lender and my real estate attorney, so some of you use title companies, it's on the back page there. I don't know if you can see it there. It's what's the back page there, Andrea? Go to the to page for a second. Maybe it's there. I just told Andrew before we got started, I'm trying a new pair of contact lenses. Never worn them before.
I'm going to see if I can.
My vision's a little shaky today.
I'm going to see if I can get a blown up copy from the site. Just give me just 1 second.
Yeah, because I can't see it, but I mean that doesn't mean other people can't. But my vision's a little shaky here today. So where am I? So we need to follow up with longer-term prospects. Now let me say this: most of the people that we talk to in real estate, most of the buyers and sellers do represent future business. Would you agree with that? In all the years you've been in business, I know some of you are new, so you're thinking, well, I don't have years of experience, but trust me, most of the buyers and sellers we speak to in real estate represent future business. It's just the truth. You know, it's not like every buyer and seller we talk to are jumping up and down and they're saying, come on over and list my house today, or I want to buy a house today. Sometimes we need to follow up with them for weeks or months before, quite often, most of the time, we got to follow up with them. That doesn't make them a bad lead, just means they're not ready to buy today. If you go into a retail store, you go to a car dealership today and you look around and you don't buy today, it doesn't mean you're not going to buy a car. So we have to understand we need a good follow-up program. If you agree with me that the vast majority of buyers and sellers that we speak to, the leads we generate, represent future business, then we've got to have a good system for nurturing that. There it is right there. So legal specialist, Jack Lorian, and my lender, Bill Eves. Okay, so my lender and my real estate attorney, now some of you, it'll be a title company, they advertised in this newsletter. Why? Because it made sense to them to have their names in front of people that want to buy and sell real estate. Even if those buyers and sellers don't use Craig Proctor, they still, in my market, need a real estate lawyer to close it. They still need a lender. So it made sense. So on the coaching site, we have a letter that you can send out to your affiliates talking about this opportunity. And we've created the newsletters. You can get them again at BXL Printers. Let's just go to BXL Printers for 1 second, Andrea, and show everybody that all my printed material is there. Oh, is that the letter? No, that's the cover letter that goes with it. So the cover letter is going to personalize the mailing. Okay, the newsletter itself is a template. It doesn't have your name on it, but the cover letter that goes with it is going to say, you know, Dear Andrea. It's going to have Andrea's name, the date, and it's going to have your name and your company name on. That's how you're going to personalize the newsletter. Let's go to BXL Printers for 1 second, Andrea, and show everybody that my postcards are there, my newsletter's there. You can get your business cards there. Let's just click on postcards. Okay, and if you click there, all my postcards, all my direct mail for buyers and sellers, everything comes up. And I believe if you click on any one of them, you can blow them up and make them big. So let's go under sellers, Andrea, and let's right there. Find out what your home is worth online. And Danielle will just, BXL will just add your URL. Okay, and then in fine print, your disclaimer, so your name, sales rep, broker, your company name. If you're in California, your real estate license number, etc. Okay, so we have a ton of questions. So, Andrea, why don't you read me some of the questions, and I'll answer some of the chat questions first, and then we'll do a couple role plays.
Okay, we'll go with our first.
Try to pick questions, by the way, that are about what we're talking about here today.
Okay, follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Our first.
We've got a couple questions. I've got questions here. Ted's asking about the guaranteed sale program. Ted, we're going to handle all the marketing stuff tomorrow on our marketing clinic. Our ad clinic is tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time. So that webinar tomorrow is all about marketing. Today, let's keep the questions about role play, about following up with the leads, about what do I say, how do I handle objections, etc.
Okay. Ernest asks, when responding to sign calls, should we use the script or should we use the sign call script on the new coaching website?
Well, look, there's going to be a slight change to the intro when you use this script. Okay, that's about it. And then you go into the same probing questions. So I'm not going to say, I wouldn't say, hey, Andrea, the reason I called is I received your request for a list of properties or a special report. I would say, hi, Andrea, it's Craig Proctor returning your call, and you were inquiring about my listing on Maple Street. Okay, and then I'm going to go into the same probing question. So if you're using Commissions Inc., or you're using Bold Leads, or you're using another lead generator, it's just a slight massage to the intro that makes it different. And Ernest, how about those? How about the Tampa Bay Lightning? I know Ernest. I see him on Facebook. He's a big Tampa Bay Lightning fan. So I thought I'd throw that in. All right, next question.
Okay, Jeff asks, on the Success website, sometimes prospects already answer the questions in the script prior to you calling them. Is it best to still repeat the universal callback script in order as reconfirmation, or do you skip over those questions?
Nope, I ask them again anyway. I mean, look, we want that information because it's going to help us determine who we're going to call back first. That's why we're asking them questions, right? That's why in the hotline script, for example, it says to buyers on the end of it, the script, it'll say, if you've got good credit history, a combined family income of X amount, and good job stability, please ask for report number 1. And if you've got poor credit history or a combined family income of under X amount or poor job stability, please ask for report number 2. It's to help us decide, I've got a gazillion leads to call today. Now, I know most of you are not in that position yet, but imagine when that happens, we want to look at the information that the prospect has given us to decide who are we going to call back first. But I still want to ask them all those questions. It'll just help you reconfirm their motivation and timing. And on top of that, let's say that the prospect says at the end of the universal callback script, we agree that I'm supposed to follow up in a couple weeks. When I follow up a couple weeks from now, I'm going to go through the script again. Every time I speak to them, unless it's only a couple days between the phone call, if it's a couple weeks or a couple months, I'm going to go through those probing questions once again because I want to make sure that nothing's changed with their motivation and timing. I want to reconfirm their motivation and timing.
Okay, Vic asks, do you first ask them if they are 100% committed to the realtor? If yes, then which should we ask? I'm sorry, let me read that question again.
You can say that, Vic, but what would be wrong with just saying what I said? What would be wrong with saying, would you be, there's a big difference between real estate agents and what they do and how much they charge to get the job done. Would you be open to meeting with me as well? Are you going to be speaking with other agents? That's the question. If they say yes, then you're going to say, well, there's a tremendous difference between real estate agents and what they do and how much they charge to get the job done. Would you be open to meeting with me too? If they're 100% committed, Vic, they'll tell you then. They'll say, well, no, I'm not really interested because it's my Uncle Joe or it's my husband or my wife or my best friend, and I absolutely, am committed to them.
Okay, Maria asks, when the lead says call me back next week, should we still send them a list of homes or should we wait and put them on an automatic list when we meet them?
No. You're always going to send the information out you promised. We can't promise prospects that we're going to send them a list of properties or we're going to send them a special report and then not send it out. And let me just answer this question before I'm asked it as well. Realtors often ask me, well, what if I can't get a hold of them? I've tried them for a couple of days or a week and I can't get a hold of them. Do I still send the information out? Standard policy at my office was we sent the information out right away as soon as the lead came in, as soon as possible. I mean, if it was in the middle of the night, it would be the next day maybe, but they're always going to get the information right away. So everybody gets the information. Some of those prospects you will never reach on the telephone.
Okay, we have another question. I have no problem booking appointments, but a lot of them don't show or cancel. How do I make sure my appointments show up?
Okay, if it happens once in a while, it happens to all of us once in a while. But because you're saying it's happening all the time, then we need to improve what you're saying. Okay, that's what causes you to know it's you and what you're saying. It's if it happens all the time. This is the difference between what we call common causes and special causes. So for example, if you're driving down the road and your car stops and it's because you ran out of gas, well, that's a common cause. You can predict that, like, keep putting gas in your car. If you drive down the road and your car stops because the alternator blew up, you can't really prepare for that, right? That's a special cause. So in your real estate business, if every once in a while somebody doesn't show up, that wouldn't cause me to run back to the drawing board and change what I'm saying. But because you're saying it's happening a lot, I think we'd be sticking our head in the sand to think that it's them. You know, it's got to be you and what you're saying. Really what they're saying is they don't see value in meeting with you. They don't really understand the benefit of meeting with you. So you've got to make sure that you're, clearly communicating why they should be meeting with you, and even a good idea to repeat it. So I might say, so Andrea, when we get together tomorrow at 7 o'clock, you're going to get immediate access to all the hot new listings that match your criteria, including bank foreclosures, distress sales, company-owned properties. And, don't bother bringing your checkbook. It's absolutely free of charge, and there's no obligation. So, again, we'll see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. I might even send her an email tomorrow to remind her of our appointment. Now, Andrea, if you can't make the appointment tomorrow at 7 for any reason at all, could you please call me and let me know so I can free up my schedule? Okay, you've got to get them committed to this, and you've got to reiterate the benefit over and over again so they understand why it's important that they show up. Think about this. If they were meeting with you to get a box of gold bricks, do you think they would show up for that? They would, wouldn't they? Because everyone in the world knows the value of gold bricks. But everyone in the world doesn't understand the value of meeting with you unless you do a good job of communicating that. And the better job you do of communicating it, the more people will show up. One more thing I want to talk about is time is not your friend. You want to try to book these appointments as close to now as possible. Okay, time is not your friend. I remember several years ago, I had a lady with a very nice N-unit townhouse. I mean, this thing would sell in a heartbeat. And I was speaking to her on a Thursday evening, and she was ready to sell. There was no question about this. I forget her reason, but she had a very specific reason, 100% going to be listing her townhome. But I had plans that weekend. She was ready to list, like I could have made an appointment for Friday or Saturday, Friday night I think or Saturday, but I was going away for the weekend, so I pushed her off till Monday. And guess what happened? I get a nice email Monday morning canceling the appointment with me because she already listed it with another agent. So time is not your friend. A lot of bad things can happen, right? In this instance, the lady just happened to be talking to her neighbor, and the neighbor's brother was a realtor. Now, had I marched over there and listed her home on Thursday night or on Friday, that business would have been mine. Or how about this? How many of you have actually forgotten to do something you really want to do? I've bought sporting event tickets. I remember last summer, I bought expensive tickets to go see the Toronto Blue Jays. I set them up over by the telephone. I won't forget them there, right? And I forgot to go. So we've all had that happen, right? We actually forget to do things we really want to do. So you think it's possible if enough time elapses that they might forget about an appointment they have with a realtor, something that maybe they're not really looking forward to going as much as I was looking forward to going to the baseball game? All right, let's do this now. Let's take a couple role plays, Andrea.
Okay.
We're going to take some volunteers.
Our first volunteer is Sam Shaw. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, Sam. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Craig. How are you?
Good. Thank you for helping me out Monday at our little seminar here in Toronto.
Oh, you're welcome, Craig. It was great spending time with you.
All right. So you've been at this for a little while. So why don't you explain to everybody, kind of what's happened with your business here and why it's really, really important to pay attention to these Thursday role play calls, how vital it is that you master the universal callback script.
Well, Craig, honestly, without being good at this script, you probably won't get far because this is where everything happens, booking appointments.
Correct. So you could generate a whole bunch of leads, and without mastering the script, here's what's going to happen. You will successfully get nowhere with everybody, and then you'll say, well, the leads are no good, and Craig's program, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
So
and in the beginning, I used to say, oh, the leads are not that good, but now I know it's not the leads. Now I'm better.
Correct. So it's important everyone that's new with this understands that. Without mastering the script, it'll appear to you, like leads that are really good will appear that they're not good to you because you're not doing and saying the right thing. So let me say this, 100% of real estate agents that are not successful with my program, 100% of them, there's one thing in common. None of them can recite the universal callback script. They don't know it. So we know right away, well, it had no chance of working because they were generating leads and they couldn't book any appointments, meaning they couldn't make any money with the program. That's why every single Thursday, James McDonald and I hammer on role-playing the script, the idea behind it. At first, it's going to seem kind of weird, right, Sam? Because they're my words, they're not your words, but pretty soon, you internalize it.
Yeah, exactly.
And now, you don't think of this anymore as Craig's script. You think of it, this is your script.
Exactly. It's all in my head. Like I can just, I can be doing something and somebody just starts asking me these questions and right away it's like second nature now.
It is second nature. And see, you go from, I guess here's the stages with the script. First of all, you go, we begin by being, this is a good analogy actually, see if I can get this right. We start off with the universal callback script and we become, we're really an unconscious incompetent.
Yeah.
We're incompetent with the script, but you're unconscious of it. You don't even know you're incompetent. And then the next level is you become a conscious incompetent. Now at least, Sam, you knew that you were incompetent with the leads, right? You became conscious of fact, right? And then you really learned and you had to try hard with the script, and you became a conscious competent. You'd read the script, you really had to pay attention and focus. But if you did that, if you paid attention, you focused, you became really competent. And then the next level is the level of mastery. That's where you are right now. What you just said to me is, Craig, I'm an unconscious competent. I am so competent with this, and I'm not even thinking about it. It's just second nature to me.
Exactly.
All right, so let's do the role play.
Craig,
Do you want to be a buyer or seller?
I just want to ask you a question. So, when we're talking to the prospect and they sound like they're being wishy-washy and they say no in the beginning, and then like you almost want to ask them if you can follow back up with them, but then you ask them like, Craig, if you were driving around or searching our website and you came across the perfect home and the price was really, really good, would you pull the trigger on that? And if they say yes to that, right, and we book those people, and those are the people that don't show up or cancel the most. So is it like maybe better if we just follow back up with them when they're ready?
Yeah, look, it sounds like you're pushing an appointment that's, they're not really ready. You see, here's the thing. You're so good with this script, would you agree that it's possible that you're so good with this script that you can get people to meet with you even if they're not ready to buy or sell?
That's happening.
Right, so watch this. You've heard me say this before, Sam. Just because you can book an appointment doesn't mean you should.
Yeah. That makes sense. Exactly.
Look, I'm really good with the script, right? I suppose I could book all kinds of listing appointments. Be careful what you wish for, right? Now I'm at their home, and I find out they're really not motivated to do anything until next year. It's like, why am I here? I'm wasting my time.
Exactly.
And then I get really upset with the person that made the appointment, and then I remember it was me. So you may be pushing so hard for an appointment that you're pushing people that are really, if you see the idea here at the probing questions, Sam, you're asking questions why, and you should be listening to the answers. Too many agents rifle through the probing questions, and they're not really listening to how the prospect is answering those questions. Maybe if we listen really hard, we realize, well, there's no sense pushing for an appointment here because truly, these buyers and sellers, they're just like not ready now. They've got a real reason like why they can't do this now. And then the answer is, yeah, don't try to book an appointment where they end up not showing up. Continue to follow up until they're actually interested in what you have to offer. And not all of them will be.
Right.
Right? We've got to be okay with that. You've got to be okay with asking the questions and realizing, okay, well, you know what? of the 100 leads I've got to call this week, this person's not at the top of my list. I'm not going to book an appointment. Heck, I might not even want to follow up with this person.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's do a role play, and let's show everybody how Sam has mastered this script. Do you want me to be a buyer or a seller?
You can be a buyer that's also a seller, maybe.
Okay, so what did I respond to? Which campaign?
Like maybe a bank-owned lead online.
Okay, I wanted a list of properties. In fact, it doesn't even matter what list of properties I requested from you, right? I want everyone just to think it just doesn't even matter, right? Whether it's a list of fixer-uppers, a list of luxury homes, a list of distressed sales, a list of homes in this neighborhood or that neighborhood, a list of two-story homes, a list of ranch homes, it doesn't matter. But I responded to a list of homes, and now Sam is calling me back. So ring, ring, and I say hello.
Hello, hi, may I speak to Craig Proctor, please?
Speaking.
Hi, Craig. This is Sam Shaw from Remax, and the reason I'm calling today is because I received your request on our website for the list of bank foreclosure properties, and I was just calling to let you know that I sent that list over to you. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
And I was wondering, Craig, are you planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, my wife and I have been talking about it. We want to get a little closer to the city. The commute's kind of killing us.
Okay, and do you currently rent or do you own the property that you live in?
We own right now.
And if you were to make a move, do you prefer to buy first before listing your home, or do you want to sell your home first and then buy?
Yeah, like we don't really know what's out there yet, so our home would be easy to sell, we think. So we would not feel comfortable putting our home up for sale until we find something first.
Okay, and if you were to make a move, will you be staying in the area or moving out of the area?
Well, like I said, we need to move closer to the city. So we're in Aurora right now, so we'd like to go down to probably Richmond Hill or Thornhill.
Okay, and do you have a realtor
over to
to
Markham?
help you when the time's right?
Sorry?
Do you have a realtor to help you when the time's right, correct?
You know, there's a lady that works with my wife, and her husband's a realtor, and he's been, emailing us some homes. So we haven't met with him yet, but I've talked to him on the phone.
All right, are you 100% committed to only working with that realtor, Craig, or are you open to receiving the bank foreclosures from us as well?
Well, wouldn't he be sending me the same stuff?
Well, I'm not sure what that realtor is sending you, Craig, but our list includes all the bank foreclosures, distress sales, company-owned properties. Would you like those as well?
Perfect. Now, did everybody get that? What Sam did is he created massive doubt in the mind of the prospect. I said, well, this other agent's sending me stuff, and Sam talked about his list, and I said, well, wouldn't the other agent be sending me the same stuff? And Sam, repeat what you said to me again so everybody gets it. You did an excellent job there.
Thanks. Well, I'm not sure what that realtor is sending you, Craig, but our list includes all the bank foreclosures, distress sales, homes that are below market value. Would you like those as well?
Yeah, can't hurt. Yeah, I guess we'd like to get information on all the properties.
All right, great. Craig, when would be a good time for us to get together for about 20 minutes so I can take down exactly what you're looking for? Days?
Well, I can tell you right now, we're looking in this town and that town between this price range and that price range, and we want a 2-story, 4-bedroom home.
Well, Craig, I want to do a good job for you. And, rather than emailing you hundreds of properties that may or may not match, or worse, missing out on the perfect one, if we can get together for 20 minutes and we can get a great understanding of exactly what it is you're looking for, then we'll only be sending you homes that's a perfect match. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to miss out on anything.
All right. So would days or evenings or weekends work best for you?
Gee, I'd have to check with my work schedule first to see when would be a good time. But I've got your contact info. Why don't I'll check my work schedule and I'll call you back.
All right, sure. Well, why don't we do this, Craig? Since I got you on the phone and it sounds like you're really, really busy, why don't we tentatively pencil something in for a day and time that you think will most likely work for you? And then if you check your schedule and for any reason you need to change that, just reply to the email that I sent to you or give me a call. Is that okay?
Perfect. Okay, let's stop there. Time out for a second. Does everybody see how Sam did an excellent job of handling that objection? My objection to Sam was, oh, okay, I'd love to meet with you, but I got to check my work schedule. So I've got your contact info, Sam. Why don't I check my work schedule and I'll call you back? So Sam came up with a reasonable solution to this problem, right?
Right.
Repeat what you said again. I said, well, I got to check my work schedule, but when I do that, I'll call you. What did you say?
And I said, okay, sure. Well, why don't we do this? Since I do have you on the phone and it sounds like you're really busy, Craig, why don't we tentatively pick a day and time that you think will most likely work for you? And I'll send you an email, and if you check your schedule for any reason it doesn't work, just reply to the email and let me know to change or cancel it. Is that okay?
Perfect. Now, if that really was the reason I can't meet with Sam, Sam's come up with a perfect solution to this problem. In other words, if I'm sincere about meeting you, that should work. However, if I'm insincere about meeting you, in other words, that was a lie, it wasn't the truth, that wasn't the real reason why, it wasn't really because I had to check my work schedule or talk to my wife, what you'll find is the prospect would make up yet another objection. The prospect might say, well, gee, Sam, I don't know if I'm ready for this to meet with a realtor quite yet, so when did I call you when I'm ready? That's a bad sign. That means they lied to you. They're not really sincere. But I'll be a sincere guy today. I'll say, okay, well, great. Let's say, I don't know, tomorrow at 7 o'clock.
All right, perfect. We look forward to and Craig, why don't we do this? Since you indicated that you also own a house, why don't we meet at your home, and at the same time, if you like, I can take a closer look at your home, and give you an accurate assessment as to what you can expect to sell your home for, and give you some tips on what to do and what not to do to prepare your home to sell for the most amount of money. There's also no obligation for that. So what's your address there?
Okay, and I give them the address. Now look at everybody. How smart was that? That's, I don't know, let's call that a double whammy offer. So Sam, he determined I'm a buy first guy. I said, I want to look around, the commute's killing us. We want to look around closer to the city before we get crazy and list our home for sale and put a sign up. We want to find something. So he goes there first. He gets me excited about getting the free list of properties, including all the hard, difficult to find properties, distress sales, bank foreclosures, etc. Once I say yes to that, he pluses the offer. And he says, and Craig, you also said you have a house to sell. I could also give you information on what homes in the neighborhood are selling for, what's recently sold, give you an accurate assessment of what your house would sell for. Also, while I'm there, I can give you tips on what to do and what not to do to sell your home for the most amount of money. We could go over a net sheet, discover all your various closing costs, what you'll have left in your pocket at the end of it. We could talk about timing, when's a good time to do this, and everything is free of charge and no obligation. So he says, what's your address? And I'll see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Sam, excellent job. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
for
Greg.
Doing our role play here with us.
I have a question. So you know how I just made the seller offer after the buyer offer? Like, do you ever make it a little bit shorter if you don't want it to be that long? Because sometimes I find that, like, if I get the buyer excited and I book him and then I make the seller offer, that's when they kind of back out, or it sounds like they're not ready to meet for that. They just want the homes right now, and I lose them because of that. So how do you do that?
It's not the way, I mean, it worked in this example. It's not the way I would do it. I would combine the offers at the same time. So let me show you how I would do it.
Okay.
I would say, Sam, would you like me to email you daily updates of all the homes that match your criteria from all the different real estate companies? My list includes bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, distress sales. It's a free service, and you're never obligated to buy a home. And also, when we get together, I could give you an accurate assessment of what your home would sell for. We could go through a net sheet and figure out what all your associated closing costs are, what you'll be left in your pocket. We could talk about timing, and I could give you tips on, what to do and what not to do to prepare your home for sale. So when would be a good time for us to meet, days or evenings? So you can combine the offer at the same time, because I'm a buyer and I'm a seller.
I understand. Okay, thanks a lot, Craig. Thanks for your time.
All right, thanks, Sam. All right, let's go to my good friend Philippe. It looks like he wants to do a role play with us.
Your line's open.
Can you hear me, guys?
Hi, Philippe. How are things going in the Montreal area?
Going good, going good.
I'm sorry about your Montreal Canadiens being eliminated.
Well, they were eliminated after losing the first 3 games. It was just a question of time.
Yes. Yeah,
so, well,
Ernest on our webinar here from Tampa Bay, he is not unhappy about that result at all. Okay.
Well, I am. I am, because now my sellers and my buyers are not distracted anymore, so too bad for him.
That is true. That is absolutely true. When there's a big sporting event going on, sometimes they can't meet with you because, you know, the big baseball game or football or hockey game's on. So there's no distraction for you in your community anymore like that. What kind of buyer or seller do you want to be?
I would like you to be a buyer, prospect, that responded on one of my editorial ads.
Okay, so you're calling me, ring, ring, and I say hello.
May I speak with Mr. Proctor, please?
Speaking.
Yeah, Mr. Proctor, this is Philippe with Group Mackay, and the reason I'm calling is because I received your request for a free list of properties. Just wanted to let you know that I've popped it in the mail, and you should receive it shortly. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you very much.
Oh, by the way, were your folks planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months, Mr. Proctor?
Yes, we are looking for something a bit bigger.
Do you rent, or do you currently own your own home?
We're renting right now.
And are you planning on staying in the area, or would you be moving out of the area?
We want to stay in the area.
Tell me, Mr. Proctor, when do you think that might be?
We'll probably do something over the summer.
And do you have a realtor to help you when the time is right?
We've been to a couple of open houses, but you know we really don't have anybody that we've decided upon.
Well, would you like me to email you daily updates of all the homes that match your home buying criteria from all the real estate companies? My list includes any bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, and other distressed sales. It's a free service, and of course, you're never obligated to buy. Would that sound like something that might be interesting for you?
Well, I think we're okay because we go on the internet. I think we find all the houses on the internet, right? It'd just be the same stuff that's on the internet.
Well, not actually, it's not, because there is a delay between the time that properties are listed and the time that we do get the properties. Might be a few days, but those days are critical for you to find the right home before everybody else. So like I said, it's a free service and you're never obligated to buy a home. Would you reconsider my offer?
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to miss out on any property. So if you think you've got some different properties, sure, send them.
Well, when can we get together for about 20 minutes so I can take down exactly what you're looking for? Would you prefer days or evenings?
Well, couldn't I just tell you over the phone what I'm looking for? Like, why do we need to meet?
Well, I want to do a good job for you, so if I can get a good understanding of all your home buying criteria, and we can look at a few properties and get your comments on them, I could do a much better job for you. Like I said, it's a free service and you're never obligated. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, I guess so. Makes sense. I guess I want you to do a good job.
Okay, so what would be best for you, days or evenings?
Let me talk to my wife, find out what's on her schedule, and then I'll give you a call back.
Oh, I get that you're a busy people, and so am I. So why don't we do this? Why don't we set up a tentative appointment, and then you can confirm with your spouse, and if it doesn't work, we can reschedule. Would you prefer tonight or tomorrow night?
We better go for tomorrow night. I know tonight won't work.
Okay, would you prefer around 6:30 or 7:30?
Let's say tentatively 7:30.
Okay, so let me just get down, write down your address, and I'll see you tomorrow at 7:30 at your place.
Perfect. Okay, now what if, Philippe, what if I said, when you asked me about timing, what if I said, well, I'm not going to do anything until the new year. We definitely want to move, we need something bigger, but I've got a reason, I'm saving up money, whatever. I've got a reason why it's not going to happen until January. What are you going to do now?
Well, would you think it would be a good idea for you to get a feel of the market in the meantime, so you could actually sharpen your home buying criteria?
Right.
And
the point is you're still going to try to meet with me because you can sign me to a one-year buyer agency agreement. It still makes sense. Now, what if I said I was a seller and I wasn't going to be, there's absolutely no reason or way I'm going to list my home until February of next year. Would you try to book an appointment with me now?
Sure, but
so.
as a buyer, only as a buyer.
Yeah, but if I'm only a seller, if I only had a house to sell, I'm moving from Montreal and I'm going to Los Angeles. So you're not.
No, I'd sign you up for my Market Watch newsletter, and I'd set a tentative call to see how things are going with you and your plans.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you very much. That was a great role play, Philippe. Let's go back to Andrea and see who's next.
Okay, our next guest is going to be Regina Fall. Your computer mic is now open.
Hi,
Hi, Regina. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Rockville, Maryland.
Well, Maryland. Well, thank you very much for being with us today. Would you like me to be a buyer, prospect, or a seller?
I would like you to be a buyer, please. And please go easy on me because this is my first time.
All right, I'm going to be very. I just switched it over to gentle. I'm on gentle mode.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. Now, what campaign as a buyer did I respond to, Regina?
The first-time home buyer.
Okay. So I wanted a list of first-time home buyer properties. So ring, ring, and I say hello.
Hi, is this Mr. Proctor?
Speaking.
Hi, Mr. Proctor. This is Raina with Exit Realty. And the reason I'm calling is because I received your request for the information you wanted, and I popped it in the mail to you. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you. I didn't know this was coming from a realtor, though.
Oh, it is coming from a realtor, actually. It's coming from Exit Realty, me.
Okay, now this is perfect. The reason I'm bringing this up is
Okay.
sometimes with our less branded marketing,
Okay.
the prospects don't even know it was coming from a real estate agent. Now, at first, I thought that this was an objection. It's not. It's just an observation. In real estate, we need to understand the difference between a true objection and an observation. So what I found worked really well, if the buyer or seller said, well, hey, I didn't even know this was coming from a real estate agent, I would say yes, and then continue on with the script, and it worked. So because I came to understand this wasn't an objection, it was just an observation. They weren't objecting to this, they were just like, it was a fact. They didn't know this was coming from an agent, and I handled it with, yes, it was, and that suffices. So let's try this again from the start, and I want you just to handle it with, yep,
Okay.
yep, it was. Okay,
Okay.
so ring, ring.
Hi, is Mr. Proctor there?
Speaking.
Hi, Mr. Proctor. This is Raina with Exit Realty. And the reason I'm calling is because I received a request for the information you wanted, and I popped it in the mail to you. Is that okay?
Yeah, I didn't even know that was coming from a real estate agent.
Yep, yes it is. So,
Keep going.
okay, are you folks planning on moving, making a move in the next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, my wife and I are thinking about it. We need to get a little closer. We're in Bethesda right now. I'm just making up. I don't know your area, and we're moving to Arlington. How about that?
Oh, you're moving several miles away. Okay. Well, do you currently rent or do you own your home?
We own.
You own. Okay. Well, are you planning on staying? Well, you're obviously moving over to Arlington. So if you were to move, when do you think that might be?
We're thinking we wanted. You know, it was such a brutal winter. I work over in Arlington, and it was really the commute in the winter that was killing it for me. And I'd get home late, and I was miserable. So my wife and I have just decided we don't want to do another winter like that. So we've got to get, before like the summer or early fall, before winter sets in, we want to get ourselves closer to Arlington.
Oh, great. Well, do you have a realtor to help you when the time is right?
My wife has a cousin that's a realtor. I got to say I'm not that keen on it, but it's her cousin, and we promised her cousin we would at least meet with her. I wouldn't say we're 100% committed, but I just want to, let you know we're committed to at least meeting with her.
Well, do you think you might be open to meeting me as well?
Okay, you didn't give me a reason though.
Oh, I have to give you a reason. Okay.
What did I say a minute ago? What would be the benefit of meeting with you as well? Are you different or better?
Well, I know that yes, I'm definitely better, and the reason why I'm better is because I need that USP. Let me think.
Okay, well, watch this. What I said a few minutes ago is if they say they're meeting with another agent or they're speaking to another realtor, you're going to state the obvious. We think it's obvious, but they sometimes they don't think about it. You're going to say, well, hey, Craig, there's a tremendous difference between real estate agents and what they do and how much they charge to get the job done. I'm not saying don't meet with your wife's cousin, but would you be interested in maybe meeting with me as well?
Okay.
And I'm either going to say, well, no, I'm 100% committed, and even though I don't want to list with my wife's cousin, I have to, right? Or I'm going to say, you know what, that's probably a good idea. This works as well, too. Sometimes if they say, well, it's my best friend or it's my cousin, I will say this. Well, look, it would be a good idea to meet with me because there is a tremendous difference between real estate agents and what they do and how much they charge to get the job done. And after you meet with me and you meet with your best friend, your cousin, if you feel that you want to go forward with them after a meeting with me, at least you've done your due diligence. You've listened to what I've had to say, and you can go forward with your best friend or your cousin knowing that you've made the right decision. But how would you feel if you don't meet with other realtors and you just go with the other realtor because they are your friend or they're your relative, and you sign on the dotted line, and then you're thinking, gee, maybe this wasn't the right, maybe we made a mistake. Like, wouldn't it be smarter to do your due diligence and meet with a couple of other realtors first? And like, if you meet with me and I can't do anything more for you than your friend or your relative, by all means go with your friend or relative.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that's all. You're just throwing your name in the hat. You're just basically saying, you're reminding the seller of the obvious. You're saying, there's a tremendous difference between real estate agents, what they do, and how much they charge to get the job done. Do you think you might be open to meeting with me as well? So you're not saying don't meet with the cousin or the friend. You're saying it's probably a good idea to meet with me as well.
Okay.
And I say, okay, yeah, right. Like, I don't even want to list with my wife's cousin. I think that's an excellent idea. I would love to be able to give my wife a reason why we shouldn't list with her cousin.
Okay.
So I say yes. Now what?
Okay. Would you like me to email you daily updates of homes that match your home buying criteria from all real estate companies? Our list includes any bank foreclosures, company.
Now hang on a second. Did you ask me whether I'm a buy first guy or a sell first guy?
I thought you said you were a buyer and you didn't own your home. Did you own your home?
Okay, well, here's where we are. Okay, I responded to a buyer campaign,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you asked me if I owned a house, and I said I did, but I didn't tell you whether I prefer to look around at other homes first, did I? Or whether I'd rather sell my home first. You're guessing.
I am guessing. Okay, I just know that you said you want to move to Arlington because of the cold weather and stuff.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, there's two ways. We know there's two ways that a client can do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could be one of these clients that thinks, you know what? I want to get my my home in Bethesda on the market first. I want to get it sold or at least on the market before I get excited about a home in Arlington. Or maybe I'm this type of guy. You know what? I don't think I'm going to have any trouble selling my house in Arlington at all or in Bethesda at all. I want to look around in Arlington first and make sure, like, I want to zone in on a neighborhood and find a couple homes I like before I even dare to list my home for sale. You've got to know where my head's at before you make me the right offer. What I said earlier is that's the mistake I made.
Mm-hmm.
I used to guess. I used to think, well, because this guy responded to a buyer campaign, he wanted a list of whatever buyer homes, I thought, well, then he's a buyer, so therefore I should go to the buy first offer. But just to throw a wrench into this, let's say when you asked me this question, Craig, would you rather, find the home in Arlington first, or would you rather list your home in Bethesda first? I say, well, I would rather get my home in Bethesda on the market first before I get excited about a home in Arlington.
Okay. Okay, well, would you like a free market evaluation to determine what your home would sell for? Also, I can give you tips on what to do and what not to do to sell your home for the most amount of money. And we can also go over all the various closing costs you will incur so you will know exactly what you'll have left in your pocket after all expenses. Now, this is free of charge and obligations nothing to you. Does that sound helpful?
No, that is very good. Now, the next step is we've got to do this so it doesn't sound like you're reading it.
Okay.
Okay, now, the first sale that every salesperson must make is to themselves. You've got to believe in this. For example, I hired an inside sales agent many years ago to help me with this script, to help me call all the people I couldn't get to. And if we look at the buy offer, she could never really articulate that in a way that sounded like she wasn't excited about it, she wasn't enthusiastic about it. And I cornered her on it one day and I said, like, you don't really sound like you believe in this offer. And the truth was she didn't. She said to me, if I was a buyer, I would never agree to come in and meet with you. I said, well, that's your problem. You can't sell anybody on this because you don't believe in it. You haven't sold yourself on this idea. Mm-hmm. So at first, and this is for all of you, this is going to seem a little bit weird because these are my words. But as you buy into this, think about this. As you're using this script over and over and over again, especially when you find out that it works, it's going to become your script. It's not going to seem awkward. I would rather, though, all of you read it to begin with rather than not follow it perfectly. I'd rather you read it, even if it kind of sounds like you're reading, rather than just winging it and then, not saying it exactly the way it is. But you'll get better with it. So here, let me say it back to you. Here's how I would kind of say it.
Okay.
I would say, like, hey, would you like a real accurate assessment of what your home is worth? We could figure out exactly what it would sell for. And when we get together, I could take a look around at your house and give you tips on what to do and what not to do to sell your home for the most amount of money. And we could go through a net sheet. We could go over all the various closing costs you're going to incur, so you know exactly what you're going to have left with after all the expenses in your pocket. It's absolutely free, and of course, you're never obligated to do anything. Does that sound like it might be helpful?
Yes, it does.
Great. Well, when do you think would be a good time for us to get together, days or evenings?
Days are better for me.
So we got to make this sound a little conversational. That's all.
Okay.
But not bad. I mean, it's normal. It's new to you, right? So these are just like, we're forcing Craig's words on you. But you'll get comfortable with it. You'll make it your own. And, just don't stray too much from the idea behind the script.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. A+. How about that? I give you an A+.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you. Okay, let's go back to our wonderful operator, Andrea. Andrea, any more questions in the queue before we run out of time?
Yes, we have a few questions. Brady asks, when you successfully book the appointment to meet with a prospect, should we always be giving the presentation, either buyer or seller? How do we gauge when to deliver it and when not to?
Okay, come again with that.
Hey, they're asking, once they've made the appointment, do they always give the buyer and seller presentation, or would there be a time they wouldn't and they would just meet with the prospect?
Well, look, why wouldn't we always want to try to get them signed to a buyer agency agreement? So the answer would be the only reason we're getting together with them is to give the presentation, either a buyer presentation if they're a buy first prospect or a seller presentation. But this is a series of steps, right? We run an ad to get people to call into the hotline or website. That's step number one. Step number two is we call them back using the universal callback script. Step number three, we meet with them and we present our presentation to get them signed to a listing agreement or a buyer contract, an exclusive buyer agency agreement. So I can't think of an example of why I wouldn't present the presentation unless, of course, I met with them and said, holy cow, I would never want to work with these people. Maybe there's a situation like that where you meet with them and, I don't know, they're rude or weird or whatever, and you're thinking, well, I am not going to present my buyer presentation or my listing presentation to these people because I don't even want to deal with those kind of people. Probably happened to me a couple times in my career where I met somebody, I was just kind of weirded out by them. I was like, okay, I don't want them as a client. All right, let's take our next question.
Our next question is, can you meet with buyers at their homes as well or only at an office?
Oh, yeah, I forgot to talk about that. If it's a first-time buyer, I always want the appointment at my office. Why? It's an extra hoop that I purposely jumped the first-time buyers through. Of course, if they own a home, even if they're a buy-first prospect, and I'm presenting the buyer presentation to them, I still always want that appointment at their home. If they own a home, whether they're going to list first or buy first, that appointment's always at their house. Because if they're a buy first prospect and I meet at their home, guess what I might be able to get signed at the same time? At the same time I'm getting the buyer agency agreement signed, maybe, just maybe, I can get a listing signed, get their home listed for sale. I see Eric Harris, he's saying, let's go Rangers. Ernest says, let's go Bolts. So we've got lots of hockey fans. I love the playoffs. That was a great game last night between Washington and the Rangers. Game 7 and overtime. You can't beat that. All right, who's next, Andrea?
Okay, we have a question from Michael. How much did you charge the affiliates to advertise in the newsletter?
I think you try to get as much as you can. I mean, that's really the secret. There's some affiliates that just don't make a lot of money, and they can't pay us a lot of money. You've got to be careful in the U.S. with your RESPA laws, because you can't. Here's the deal with RESPA. You can't charge someone an outrageous amount for what they're getting in return. So, you couldn't charge your lender or your title company $10,000 to run a little, ad that's 1 inch by 1 inch. It's got to be reasonable. That's the litmus test. I had a database at any given time of about 1,500 prospects that are going to buy or sell in the next 12 months, and they all receive my newsletter. So, what would that be worth to my lender? Is it worth $500 a month for that lender to be in front of 1,500 people? Not random, not 1,500 people out of the phone book, 1,500 prospects that have jumped through all these hoops. We've offered information that only buyers and sellers want, right? That's the beauty of my system. Everybody gets that, right? The only prospects that would respond are prospects that are interested in buying or selling, right? The very nature of what we're offering buyers and sellers would only interest people that are actually in the market to buy or sell. Who would request a list of fixer-uppers, a list of luxury homes, a list of 4-bedroom homes in Glenway Estates, a special report on how to avoid the 9 most common mistakes before selling your home? Who requests this kind of information unless you're kind of in the market to buy or sell? So that's the argument I would make to title companies, to lenders, to home warranty companies, to real estate attorneys. And we've got a letter on the coaching website that you can, to template that you can send out. You could send this out to 20 lenders, 20 title companies, 20 real estate attorneys. You only need one of each. I mean, that's the deal. There's exclusivity for each niche. So only one lender, only one title company, only one home inspection company, etc. Okay, next question, and we are running out of time, so we'll take a couple more and then we'll wrap this up. And now remember, tomorrow, before everybody leaves us here, everybody knows what's going on tomorrow, right? Tomorrow is the ad clinic, or what we changed the name to now, the marketing clinic, because we're going to look at a lot more than just your ads, including your presentations. So here it is. Andrea has pulled it up here. Upcoming webinar schedule. Remember, all of our webinars, all of our sessions are on the coaching website, so you don't forget about them. Plus, Andrea is the one that sends you these reminder emails. And do you text them too, or do you just email them, Andrea?
I email and text.
So how can you guys forget about us? Andrea does a great job. She emails you and she sends you a text message with the links, the link to the webinar. So tomorrow at 11 a.m. on the East Coast, 8 a.m. on the West Coast, we're going to do our ad marketing clinic, where we ask you to upload your ads and we look at your ads. This is, just the ad clinic alone should more than pay for your coaching, because we know you guys are going to waste thousands of dollars on ads that don't really work that well. Now, some of you are going to send ads in that are pretty good, and I'm going to help you make them work even better. And some of you, of course, are going to send ads that really aren't that good at all. We're going to look at these ads tomorrow. Can you show everybody how to upload their ads, Andrea? Now, for those of you that are brand new with us, don't send us ads that aren't part of our program. So, if you got a nice ad right now with a picture of you and your dog, or you with the cell phone pressed to your cheek, not that. What we're looking for are members that are using our ads. You're going to the ad generator. Maybe you can show everybody the ad generator. And that's how you upload the ads right there. Okay, under Tools, Ad Generator. So just pick one, Classified Ads for Sellers. That's the ad generator. And you're running our ads, and then you're going to send in examples of what they look like. So if it's a print ad, you can just take a picture with your smartphone, and you can use that. And show everybody again how to upload their ads right there. Easy. So do you have those ads up? You have some of the ads ready for tomorrow yet, Andrea, or you and I need to go through those?
We still need to go through them. I tend to wait until Friday morning. That way everybody can get their ads in. Mind you, I like to have everybody submit their ads at least by 10 o'clock Eastern time. So 10 o'clock Eastern is the cutoff. Anything after 10 o'clock Eastern on a Friday morning will be reviewed the following Friday. So I haven't picked anything yet, though.
Are you suggesting that realtors are procrastinators, perhaps would leave things to the last moment?
Not all.
Okay, well, let's do this. We are out of time. Look, I don't like these to last any more than 90 minutes because you guys need to sell houses. So that's the idea. Learn from us. Go out there and sell some houses. So today is Thursday. Tomorrow, our ad clinic is Friday. Now, Monday. What's going to happen Monday? It's Memorial Day in the U.S., correct?
No, that's not until the 25th, I believe, is Memorial Day. So,
okay, so in Canada, it's Victoria Day on Monday.
Is it on the 18th?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
we are having an internet helpline session, though.
Okay, so tell us how that works on Monday.
Okay, so Monday morning, the 18th, we are going to have Christy Filion and Stephen Raitt come on, and they're going to give us an internet helpline. So if you have questions regarding the Success website, getting it set up, how to use it, any suggestions they may have on Google Pay-Per-Click, that's the session you want to join on Monday morning.
You almost said the sex website, didn't you?
No.
You said the Success.
No.
Okay, now you're blushing.
This is G-rated.
We have a couple of boot camps we want to tell you guys about. Remind you, if you're on the East Coast, I am going to be in Sarasota, Florida, and I'm going to be there on May the 21st, which is right around the corner. And Andrea has pulled that up. There it is. If you haven't reserved your seat, you need to do that. Why? Because we bring materials. I'm going to bring you a manual that's going to have all my PowerPoints. Everything we share with you is going to be in that manual. So please let us know you're going to be there and anyone you're going to bring. Most of you have done that. There's still a few stragglers, procrastinators that have not let us know you're going to come. It just means we might not have materials for you. So that's going to be on May the 21st, which I believe is a Thursday. So that's like a week. When is that?
It's a week today.
Next week? A week today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1 week today. So 1 week today, I am going to be in Sarasota, Florida at the Hyatt Regency. Okay, now if you're on the West Coast, you can see our boot camp is June the 26th. So that's about 5 weeks away. And it's going to be in Huntington Beach, California. So if you're a coaching member on the West Coast, that's the one that makes most sense to you. So you're going to be at that one, June 26th. But again, let us know that you're going to be there and who you're bringing with you. So we're going to wrap it up for today. Andrea, thank you for doing a wonderful job here. I want to thank all of you for being part of the Craig Proctor Coaching Program. And we'll see everybody tomorrow morning on the Ad Marketing Clinic webinar. Take care, and that's it for today.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Talk to you all soon.